Welcome to another edition of Citrus Today. I'm Dennis Miller. Patricia Kallenbach is with us, and she's been with us before. She has the Healing Place in Crystal River, but she's here today representing Rolling Thunder.
Yes.
And a lot of folks out there are under the misconception that Rolling Thunder is just a motorcycle organization, right?
Yes, they are. And we're not at all a motorcycle organization. We are simply a group of concerned citizens that get together to try to keep our government on their toes about bringing our men and women home, our POWs, our MIAs. The conception came about because there was Operation Rolling Thunder, which was an operation in the war that was a series of dropping bombs, and it sounded like Rolling Thunder. When the gentleman that started Rolling Thunder nationally decided to do this, they got home, they realized a lot of their soldiers were left behind, and so they started doing a demonstration ride in Washington, D.C., and wanted to bring as many motorcycles so that it would mimic that sound of the Operation Rolling Thunder. And so that's where it kind of came about. Many of our people ride motorcycles, many don't.
This is the 33rd year that you're having this nationwide Ride for Freedom, as you've called it. Everybody remembers when it was in Washington and all the motorcycles showing up and so forth. This time around, though, it's a little different, right?
Yes, last year was our last time doing it in D.C., and we had about 1.5 million motorcyclists up there. This year, we want to really bring it back to the people, and so we've got about 6 or 7 states that are all putting these rides on, all on Memorial Day, all running it the same way. So we've got, we're doing it here in Leesburg, and so Leesburg and all the surrounding communities will be participating. I believe some of our businesses here in Florida and Citrus County will be putting on some events as well. And so we're going to have the traveling walls, the Vietnam Wall, as well as the War of Terrorism. So all of our individuals that haven't gotten to go to that icon can go there. They can find their loved ones. They can do the etchings. It'll all be an official scenario there. It'll be available 24 hours a day from the time we set it up Friday through Monday when we tear it down. And so they'll have the ability to do that. We'll have Gold Star moms and other families coming in and doing part of the celebration. And on Sunday, we will all be doing approximately 100-mile ride around Leesburg, going through as many of the small metropolises just to bring it back to the people, because that's really what we're trying to do. This is not a fancy ride in D.C. It is a demonstration that the public is trying to keep our government aware that they really need to bring our soldiers home.
This is May 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. If you want to mark that on your calendar, we'll try and remind you between now and then several times about the days that it's coming up. But again, we mentioned it's the 33rd nationwide Ride for Freedom. To go back to, again, the origination of Rolling Thunder and how it came into being and everything, a little bit of history that probably folks out there don't even realize.
Yeah, again, it was simply that several veterans got together, having coming home from the Vietnam War, were very distressed that they knew their fellow warriors were left behind, and that the government just really wasn't doing anything about it. And so 3 men sat in a little cafe in New Jersey and put together and said, we just feel we have to do something. And so they started the ride, and I think there wasn't 20 bikes that participated in it for the first one. And every year it's just grown from that, and more people around the country wanted to take part in this just community awareness. And so more and more people made different chapters of Rolling Thunder. There's Rolling Thunder in every state, including Alaska. We have 7 here in Florida. And so all 7 of the chapters here in Florida are all getting together to make this event. We have several people coming in from chapters in Mississippi, from chapters in Oklahoma. We have the Flame of Freedom, which is traveled around. It'll be coming all the way down from the northeast, from the mid-north to down into our event. And then we'll be putting together a large ride around it, around Leesburg and the surrounding communities that people can participate. There is a Facebook page that is just Ride for Freedom Florida, so they can go and search that Facebook page. There's an event. They can click on there if they're interested. They can click on there if they're going to attend, and that is where they'll be able to see all of the upcoming things as we're changing. We're going to have vendors. Many of the businesses have all jumped onto this in Leesburg, and we're just so blessed with that because they're all going to have entertainment at all of the various large venues around town. So there's just going to be a lot that they can do to really support the cause and let their country know that they support their veterans.
Last year, you had 1.5 million people that participated in the ride. I'm sure the fact that you're moving it out into the states individually is going to mean collectively you'll have even more than that this year.
And that's really what we're looking for. You know, how many people can potentially take a week off of work and bear the expense to travel all the way to DC and stay in those hotels and do all of that? And we really just felt to bring it back to the people and to the general citizenship that could, if we put it in more places around the country, we could get the people that, you know, that's an hour away. Let's travel down there and look at that wall on Saturday. Even if they can't do the whole 3-day event, there are things on Friday, there are things on Saturday, the ride on Sunday. So even if they can come and do part of it, it just really lets more of the citizenship of America take part in this.
If you've never seen the Traveling Vietnam Wall, I encourage you to come out. Whether you have somebody who is on that wall or not, it's a very moving experience.
Yes, it is.
You'll never forget it. And it really brings home the sacrifices made by men and women overseas. The Traveling War on Terrorism Wall. Now, I haven't seen that, but describe that to me.
That is a similar scenario to the Vietnam Wall, but we didn't want to just those men and women obviously need to be remembered, but there have been lives lost in the wars since that. And so with Afghan, the Desert Storm, all of the components since then, those individuals' names are on the Wall of Terrorism wall. And the War on Terrorism wall. And so we just want to keep those individuals that have sacrificed their life to keep us free.
What sounds like a big emotional moment too is you're planning a candlelight vigil.
Yes, on Saturday evening, we'll be having a candlelight vigil there at both of the walls. This is at the Veterans Memorial Park in Leesburg. It's a beautiful park that's only been up for a few years. It's got a large aircraft there. It's well lit, and so we'll be having the vigil there. And again, those walls will be available 24 hours a day. We will have security around the clock to help people go out. We will have tents that you can say, you know, this is my uncle, my great-grandfather, whatever, and we'll be able to tell you what panel they're on, what line they're on, how far they are. So we literally take you exactly to where the name of
where you need to
be so that we'll have the ability for them to take the etchings just like they can do in DC.
Perfect. Well, I want to talk a little bit more about the Rolling Thunder organization and about what's planned for this weekend in Leesburg as we continue. Stay with us. We'll be back with more right here on Citrus Today. Once again, Patricia Kallenbach is our guest on the show today. She is president, by the way. I didn't mention that earlier, but you're president of Rolling Thunder here in our area.
Yes.
And we talked about the big ride that's coming up in May that you'll want to know more about. It's a protest ride. We covered some history on Rolling Thunder and what it's all about. Let's talk about locally here. I know that you were telling me that, rough estimate, there's 80,000 people from World War I all the way up through Afghanistan, Iraq, and so forth that were left behind. Locally, the Rolling Thunder chapter keeps track of all of those that their remains are returned or the person hopefully returned. And it's posted, right?
Yes, we have our Facebook page as well as our website, and as the nation, as our government identifies remains and we get an announcement for closure for that family, we try to post that on our website as well as our Facebook page, because again, that's what we're about. We want to make sure our government is bringing these individuals home and bringing closure to those families. And so you can at any point, you can look on, like I said, just Rolling Thunder Florida .7.com, or you can look on just the Rolling Thunder Florida 7 website, Facebook page, and as those get identified, we post those up so that we can just see that we are actively making the government bring these individuals home.
One of the biggest things that you've done as an organization is the POW MIA flags that are seen all over the place. They're hanging usually right below the American flag, and again to draw attention to POW, MIAs. But locally, you have done a lot of things beyond, what some groups have done with those flags.
Yes.
You make sure that you have them in a lot of locations.
We have mandated, and we've gotten it actually into ordinances, that all of our county buildings here in Citrus County have to fly them directly under the American flag. At any point they're flying the American flag. They're in all of our schools, and we actually fund and purchase and supply those to our schools. We want it to be an educational moment for our children, and so we go in about every 4 or 5 years. We present them with a new flag, but we do it on their little morning news show so that we talk a moment about, here's what this flag stands for. We do a formal presentation of the flag to one of the students, and then we take it outside and we do a formal flag raising. Those that have bands come out and play the national anthem. We really make it as moving and monumental an event that as it should be, so that when those children walk in and they look up and see that flag, they have a moment of understanding of what that's for. We have made memorial chairs, and we have them in every one of our high school stadiums. We have them in our Citrus County building. We've gone outside of the community, and we have every flag on our rest areas throughout the state of Florida. Hang them under the American flag.
There you go. Have you felt an impact that this has had on Washington?
We certainly saw that as more and more pressure built, they started really forcing the other countries to bring soldiers home and to let them into areas. Right now to this day, Laos was a place we quote unquote never went into. And so we're just now getting access to sites where our soldiers were crashed and lost. And we could say they weren't lost in Laos because we weren't actually there. We're just now, this many decades later, being able to get into those areas and identify those remains and bring them home. North Korea being able to get in there. They just released 200 remains and brought them home, and they're solely going through those and getting closure to those families. They are actually, last year, more remains were identified on U.S. soil from Pearl Harbor. They're just now getting down into those sites and identifying the remains that went down with our ships there that were shot down. And we look at it as sad that it's taken so long for those to be identified, that those few soldiers that got out are now passing away, and their dying wish is to be interred back with their shipmates.
Oh, very dramatic. For anybody who's interested in participating with some of the events that Rolling Thunder does, you have regular meetings.
We have regular meetings. We meet at the VFW in Inverness. They're on 44, just north of town. We meet on the second Saturday of every month at 10 o'clock. Anyone is welcome to come and just listen to us and learn what we see. You can also go on and give us your email, and we have an email that we send out monthly that just says, here's what we're doing. This Saturday, there's a Purple Heart ceremony at the Crystal River, the Citrus County Fairgrounds at 11 o'clock. And so we and anyone else who wants to is just going to go there and celebrate and do a ceremony for those that have received the Purple Heart.
There you go. I always like to ask folks how you got involved with Rolling Thunder. How did you get involved?
I actually had a dear friend. I have no one in my family that's directly in the military. I've got aunts and uncles that are. And I had a dear friend that since passed away that we got close, and he was one of the founding members of the chapter here in Citrus County. And he said, I think you really need to come to this. And I've just been passionately involved with it since 2005 now.
Wow. And today you're the president.
And today I'm the president.
of the organization. As you look forward to ahead, you probably have a lot of ideas that the members have suggested with regarding things that you can do, again, to bring more light on the fact that we do have men and women that were left behind, right?
We have, again, other than the other events we're doing, we go into our nursing homes here and we try to just do little events, just have coffee and donuts with our veterans that are in the various nursing homes to bring that. We bring donuts to our veterans clinics so that we can just say a bit of thank you. We try to reach out as much as we can and keep it aware. Again, we're trying this coming school year. There's a tremendous presentation of the history of the American flag, and there's a gentleman that we're blessed to have moved to Florida that he has a life-size, a full marching size of every flag from the inception of the American flag, and he does a presentation of how it changed, who designed it, all the way up to today's flag, and it's a very moving thing. He did it in Andersonville at a a thing called the Ride Home, which we recognize for the POWs and past POWs.
Wow.
And he did it there, and he has recently moved to Florida, so we're going to hopefully have it in each of our high schools this coming year, the 2020-2021 school year.
Terrific. Well, again, the 33rd nationwide Ride for Freedom, Rolling Thunder. It's coming up on May the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 24th. Mark it down on your calendar. It's going to be in Leesburg. If you're in this area or Florida, that's where Florida's converging on, because it's pretty centrally located to the entire state. Smart thinking, and they've got some terrific things set up over there, and events that will be taking place. So we encourage you, don't miss it. We'll be talking about it more between now and then. And Patricia, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you folks for sharing the time with us here on Citrus Today.